Hello, Snickerdoodles. Welcome back to some more cueing practice. This time, we are doing Urdhva, Mukha, Shvanasana, which is upward facing dog. This one can be pretty tough. If you cannot do upward facing dog, you can do cobra instead. They're similar moves in the body. I'll show you real quick. So, Bhujangasana. Hope I said that right. I think I did. Cobra. You're going to start on the mat, and then energetically you're going to push down into the tops of your feet. You're going to lift with your heart and come up, and then you're going to think about rolling your shoulder blades onto the back of your heart. And your gaze is going to be soft. You're not going to look up and strain your neck. You want to keep your neck long. And then exhale and you will release. And so that's cobra. Urdhva, Mukha, Shvanasana, upward facing dog. It's a little different. Same basic placement, so your hands are still going to be directly under your shoulders, which I didn't say earlier, but that's where we got them. And when you come up, only your hands and the tops of your feet are going to be touching the mat. So inhale forward a little, and then you would bring yourself up so that the tops of your feet are on the mat. Your legs are not touching. I'm doing that to show you that my legs are not touching. And then you bring your heart forward. You don't really think about it being a back bend. You bring your heart forward. And you think about trying to drag the heels of your hands back while you're inhaling open, smiling with your collarbones. And again, you're keeping your neck long, so your gaze is down, not up. And in between these, we're going to come into a child's pose, because it can be really difficult on your low back. So if you do have low back problems, then you need to be very, very cautious of that. So don't do that one if you think you might end up tweaking something or hurting something. So just be aware of where you're at in your body, and please do not hurt yourself. Okay, so I went through some alignment cues trying to show you what it looks like. Some other variations you can do, you can keep your lower shins to the mat if you are trying to get in there but you're not able to lift. You can keep your shins to the mat, and you can bend your elbow, and that or both your elbows, and that kind of gives you some space to play with. Or again, cobra pose, which you can do a high or a low version. I usually do low because of my back. Or Sphinx pose. You can do Sphinx pose if you want. A lot of the cues I'm going to be giving are going to be very similar. So some of these cues will still work if you're doing a variation. So for Sphinx pose, this is Sphinx pose. Same basic pose where you're going to have your lower body down on the mat. Hello Alice, how are you? You may have animals on you. Your shoelace side of your foot, the top side of your foot's down on the ground. You're going to have your elbows underneath your shoulder sockets, and your arms are out in the 11 in front of you. You want your fingers and knuckles kind of pressed into the ground, and you're going to be dragging your hands and elbows energetically back, pressing your heart center forward as you inhale, and thinking about opening your chest so that your collarbone is smiling, just like with both cobra and up dog. Again, we're thinking about keeping our necks long, so the crown of your head should be up, gaze down. You don't want to tilt your head back and up because that shortens your neck. You want your neck long. Okay. So, if you've been practicing that with me, go ahead and come into a child's pose. Take a round of breath. Actually, go ahead and come into a child's pose anyway to start. We'll just sit here. If it's more comfortable, you can widen your knees. That way your belly can come in beneath or in between your knees. Take a couple rounds of breath. And then I'm going to start cueing you. So on your inhale, go ahead and slither forward until you are laying on the ground, your belly and chest flat, your arms maybe up in front of you or at your side. Wherever they're at, take your hands and press them into the space on the mat below your shoulder blades. Keep your elbows in, and on your inhale, press up. Drag the heel of your wrists back energetically as you press down on the tops of your feet, your shoelace side of your feet, and lift into downward dog. Think about broadening your chest forward, and remember to keep your gaze down so that your neck is long. On your next exhale, go ahead and lower yourself down. Inhale back into child's pose. Take one round of breath. Alright, on your next inhale, slither forward so that you're dragging yourself across the mat on the floor until you are stretched out, flat along the floor. Go ahead and place your hands next to your side, elbows in. Press your feet, the tops of your feet down onto the mat, and push down to lift yourself up. Thighs off of the mat if we're doing upward dog. Open your heart. Breathe across your collarbone so that you get big space in your heart. Release your shoulders on your exhale so that your shoulder blades drag down across your spine. Think about squeezing an orange when you're doing that. Inhale, neck long, gaze down. Exhale, release down to the mat slowly. Inhale back into your child's pose. Take a few rounds of breath. Think about, if you will, how the different poses felt, how the cues worked for you or didn't work for you. Maybe what did or didn't feel good. That's getting to know the limits of your body, and that's okay. Go ahead and sit up. And I wanted to thank you for joining me for another cue practice. If you would be so kind as to either record yourself doing this so I can see how my cueing works, or just give me some feedback, comments or messages would be appreciated. And I hope that this helped with some cueing into some of the pose, or yes, some of the downward dog pose, upward dog pose. One of those. We've done both so far. Upward dog. We just did upward dog. Thank you very much for being here with me. Namaste.